Hi, what's your name?
Chris Johnson.
Chris, how long have you been welding?
For 2 days.
2 days, all right. You got a chance to use the new welding video training system. How did you find it? Easy to use, hard to use, basic operation?
I liked it because it gave myself and my instructor a different perspective on my welds. It showed us a lot more focus. It focused a lot better on the puddle than we could through our just natural eyesight. And so it gave us a new perspective for them to critique me on and for me to see my welds in a new light.
And the controls, the on-screen controls, did you find those easy to use? Were they confusing? How did you
Yeah, the
find it?
on-screen controls were very easy to use. They're very self-explanatory, and the main controls you use on a regular basis are all in one central location, which makes it very easy for anyone to use.
Any suggestions for controls you wish you had on it?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. Well, by the end of the video, if something pops in your
Yeah.
mind, feel free. So, are you glad that you had this as part of your training? Did you find it helpful? Well, I guess you already mentioned that, but again, did you find it helpful or was it a bother?
No, I found it really helpful. I don't know that I would want to watch every single weld in a video, but to be able to step aside from just welding beads and take a second to go over with my instructor for a couple minutes and draw a number of beads and have him critique me and be able to watch what I'm doing, it gave me a new perspective that was very helpful, and that I could then go back to my regular station and continue to practice.
So you found the cycle of weld, record, playback, and review useful even on your own in between instructor?
Yes, even without an instructor there, I could see some areas where I was erring and was able to take action to correct them.
Great. How would you compare the on-screen view versus the real view through the helmet?
So the real view through the helmet is kind of like learning how to drive and looking over the hood of your car and not quite knowing where the bumper is. There's times when you can't see the wire going into the puddle or you can't see the entire puddle itself. But when you are able to look into the camera, it gives you a different perspective where you can see the end of the wire, where you can see the whole puddle, and it's kind of like a convex mirror on the front of a school bus. It gives you a view that you wouldn't normally have, and was really helpful.
We didn't really have any examples yet for you to follow, no instructor videos. Was that something that you kind of felt you missed? Like to go refer to see how he did every now and then, or would that be useful?
I did enjoy looking at some of the videos that my instructor had made just when he was trying out the machine to see what a good weld would look like, because after a number of my bad ones, I would get to the point where I would forget what I was trying to achieve.
And what about some wrong examples? Would you think that would be useful, like a what not to do catalog?
Yeah, some of those would be useful. That way I could see exactly what it was that I was doing. Sometimes I could tell my weld wasn't right, but I wasn't always sure, well, what did I do wrong? And so if I had a video that said, here's a video where they don't hold the gun close enough to the metal, I could see that, say, okay, my problem looks similar to theirs, I must not be holding it close enough, and correct that.
Okay. We had 3 elements that we were recording. So there was the close-up camera, which shows the view right inside the arc. There's the wide view, which shows your body and your hands and posture. And then there's the graphics of the welding volts and amps. Which of those did you consult when you were practicing?
I consulted the close-up view and the amps the most often. When you're looking at the amp graph, the peaks and dips of that were essentially a graph of your gun and the surface of the metal.
Did you feel that the system was enough that could replace an instructor? Could you do it all alone, or did you feel that he was still necessary and this was an enhancement to the instructor?
I thought that it was an enhancement. I don't know that I could do it on my own. Perhaps if I had videos showing me errors, but at times I didn't know what I was doing wrong, and so I needed the instructor to point me in the right direction and say, here's what you're doing wrong. And the instructor was also particularly helpful in helping me find ways to complete welds based on the angle the weld was at.
Does the recorded view give you a better gut feeling for an understanding of what's going on with the arc and the metal interactions, better than what you saw live in the helmet when you review it?
Yes, the camera view gave me a good idea of how my puddle was moving and how it was interacting with the steel around it. And I was really able to see how my movement of the gun manipulated that puddle and pulled it down the metal.
Did you get a feeling that the system helped you sort of understand what happened when you deviated from the instructor's instructions and how things could go wrong?
Yeah, I saw, for example, what happens when you pull really far away. I was able to see how the arc, it jumps to the steel and then it melts what rod is out, and then it's too far away for an arc to complete itself, and so you have to wait for another, and it jumps, and you can hear that, but I didn't know exactly what that looked like, why it was creating these dots on the steel, and now I understand how that process works.
Does the ability to experiment and learn without someone watching over your shoulder make you more likely to try multiple processes so you won't be embarrassed?
Yeah, I think I'm more willing to try and do something kind of crazy if I know I'm the only person that's going to be watching it and not necessarily have to have someone looking over my shoulder.
Think of other students, especially in a tech school, high school students who are trying to pick a major. You know, they have a choice of automotive or welding or electrical. Do you think having equipment like this in the weld curriculum would likely convince more students to choose welding over other courses?
Yeah, I think that it shows that welding is still an industry that is high-tech, that is still on the cutting edge, and there's innovation and room for them to grow within the field.
So we have the video goggles, which let you see live what's going on, the camera view, and you could weld without even having any direct view of the weld. You can block the helmet. And did you have a chance to use the goggles for live welding?
I did have a chance to use the goggles for live welding.
How was it? Do you think you could get used to them with some practice time? How much time did you have?
I probably spent about 15 to 20 minutes drawing beads solely through the goggles, and through the course of that time period, my welds did improve.
Could you see more detail in the goggles than you could in the helmet?
I wouldn't say I could see more, but I could see different details. I could see the wire as it entered the pool. I could see the pool moving along the side, whereas from the top you get a different sense of width of the pool, and you can see how it grows down the weld.
So do you think this gives you a better feel for the real behavior of the arc and your welding actions?
I think combined with actual welding, yes, it does. It does give me a more rounded out view of how the gun interacts with the metal.
Did you get a chance to use the goggles to watch someone else's live welding?
I did. I traced someone else's live welding with the camera, moved the camera along as they welded.
Is there anything that you'd like to add? Any thoughts or things you'd like to get on the record?
I don't think so.
No?
I think you covered pretty much everything.
Okay, well thank you.